If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic. I want to begin today with a very keen insight that's going to be necessary for you as you try to deal with the whole world of narcissism. And we're going to be talking today about covert narcissists. I want us to pick up on both words, covert and narcissism. When we talk about narcissism, we're talking about people who have a deeply entrenched pattern of life that's built upon the need to be in control of other individuals. They have a raw selfishness that's there. They've got an entitlement that allows them to think that they're superior over other individuals. They don't really care about knowing you because you see it's all about them. When we talk about covert, though, we talk about hidden things. So inside, there's already kind of their own tacit acknowledgement that there's something wrong about themselves and about what they carry because they feel the need to be covert about their real identity. Now, most of them won't admit that, but the fact that they continue to cover up many elements of themselves tells us, well, there's something going on there at some level of consciousness. They're in a scheming kind of mode. These are individuals who are very psychologically burdened from the inside out, but they don't want to deal with it from their own vantage point. They want to make you responsible for who they are, and we're not going to have that. So one of the things I want to do is I want you to see that there are 4 primary goals that these individuals have as they engage with you. The more aware you are of what their goals are, then the more educated and discerning you're going to be so that you don't respond in a way that just gets you caught up in all of their sticky wicket kind of stuff. So let's run through these. Goal number 1, and this would come as no shock, that the covert narcissist has is, first, they want to create a false positive public persona. Now, what they may be behind the scenes is a whole different matter, and you're going to see a lot of it, particularly the more you know them. But it's extremely important for these narcissists of the covert variety to give good impressions. And when I say good impressions, I'm not just talking about, being on your good behavior when you first meet someone and being friendly. I'm talking about a pervasive impression that says you're going to see only the positives, and so they exaggerate the things about themselves that are good, and you will not see the negatives, so they minimize greatly whatever strains and difficulties they have on the inside. They don't want to be vulnerable. They just simply want to paint a picture that makes them look really pretty, and the net result is these people are chameleons by design, and I hope you pick up on that. It's very deliberate that they're by design. They can have all sorts of things that they're struggling with, and inwardly they're thinking, if you know me, I'm not about to go into that kind of space because I don't do that. That's part of that covert element. Now, goal number 2 that these individuals have, and that is, and this goes right along with it, it's very important for them to hide their own internal chaos. Keep in mind the fact that they insist on having such a wonderful public image is their way of saying there's some stuff that I carry on the inside of me that I don't want anybody to know. These individuals have a deep history of insecurity. Do people like me? Am I going to be accepted? Do people show respect to me? And it's extremely important for them to come across as somebody who does not have any kind of negatives on the inside. They're extremely concerned about the judgments of other individuals throughout their lifestyle, going all the way back into their childhood years and then all the way through their adult years. They realize that whenever they're in public, they're being graded, they're being judged. Other individuals are going to say if they're acceptable or not acceptable, if they're in good standing, or if they do things that make them look a little extra special. And so they want to reveal only the things that make them look good. But what that means then is they have to cover up all of that internal chaos. You see, on the inside of any narcissist, and especially with this covert narcissist, they carry a lot of internal shame. and guilt. That's the part that knows that they're going to be judged, and they know that there can be some things about themselves that are going to generate some less than wonderful judgment. And so their shame is there, and they don't want to have to face it, so they just cover it up. They have a lot of fear, and that's that insecurity. And a lot of narcissists will say, you keep saying I'm fear-based. No, I'm not. Well, yes, you are, as evidenced by the fact that you're so doggone defensive. And you just are constantly justifying who you are as opposed to being open and authentic. And then in addition, they carry around a lot of hidden anger. They don't know what to do cleanly with their anger. Much of the covert narcissist anger is of a passive-aggressive variety, and a lot of times they just suppress, and then it'll come back later on. And by the way, the anger will progress as they get to know you more and more. So their second goal is to hide all of this internal confusion and present themselves like, I'm just calm, pleasant, easygoing, when in fact, no, they're not. Then a third goal that they have, and this is where they start pushing it onto you. They want to perpetuate confusion inside you. The entire persona of the covert narcissist is phony. But what they want to do is they want you to have a reaction to them that makes you doubt yourself. Because you see, they're going to imply, well, I know more than you. Your opinions aren't all that great, and your perceptions aren't all that right. And so they'll whittle away at you. And so that's the ongoing gaslighting. They want to control the reactions that you have, and that's huge. And so as a result, they're very free in telling you what their opinions are, or offering suggestions about how you need to do things that's going to match pitch with them. They'll be more than happy to talk with you about your deficiencies. Basically they can invalidate you constantly whenever you have an impression or an opinion or a feeling that's inconsistent with what they want you to have. Now, unlike their more overt counterparts, they may be a little bit more subtle in the way they do it, although behind the scenes they may not be all that subtle. But in public, they just want you to know, well, I know you have your style and your mannerisms. Mine's better. And so they want you to stay confused. You just don't do things right, and that's my problem that I have with you. You're the problem. And then a fourth goal that these individuals have, and that is the covert narcissist is intent on making sure that you're responsible for the problems that they have. In their minds, they'll tell themselves, and they'll be very free in telling you, I wouldn't be having these problems if it weren't for you doing all the wrong things. And as a result, they're very demanding in terms of what you need to do to make them feel better. You see, one of the problems they have is because they don't have good introspective skills and they won't take responsibility for themselves. They have to have external solutions for their internal problems. And as a result, they're going to put a lot of heavy pressure on you to fit their mold and to fit their agenda because you are responsible for making them feel good. And the easiest way that you can see this is their heavy use of what I call imperative thinking, imperative communication. You've got to, you'd better, you can't do that, you're supposed to do this. It's their way of trying to pull you in to become responsible for making them feel better. So those are the goals that they have. And then guess what happens when they begin realizing, uh-oh, you're on to me. Because after a while, you begin seeing, you have this public persona, and that's not consistent with what I see behind the scenes. The more you're on to them behind the scenes, they're going to become more and more overt in the way that they portray their narcissism. Publicly, they can still stay covert, but privately, they can be more demanding, and the anger and the agitation, which is how it's going to come out, is going to be much more intense. So go ahead and prepare yourself for that. Covert narcissists, by definition of their covert nature, do not want to be exposed. They dread being emotionally and personally vulnerable. Now, as you see this, you might think, some folks may not see what I see in this person, and you may feel like you're hanging out there on an island all by yourself. But keep in mind that if that person is being covert with you, they've been covert with others, and just as you're figuring them out, some others are going to start figuring them out too. But then either way, that's not really your task to have to worry about. Once you begin seeing the goals of this covert narcissist, I'm hoping that there can be certain determinations that you can anchor down on. For example, you can determine that narcissist needs you to see them only in a positive light, but your reaction is going to be, no, I stand for honesty and I stand for authenticity. That's how I'm going to see you, and that's how I'm going to engage with you. The narcissist wants you to feel confused. Well, you know what? In your determination, you can decide, I'm not confused. I trust my judgments and I trust my discernment about what I'm seeing, and I'm going to make my decisions based on what I know as opposed to what you're trying to feed me. They want you to ignore their emotional chaos. And it's like, well, but I'm not going to ignore it. You want to try to make me think that you're in a whole lot better shape than you really are. I see it for what it is, and I'm not going to commingle in all of your emotional chaos. I'm not going to get suckered in like you want me to, so that you can then point the finger of accusation at me. And then they want you to be responsible for who they are. And my response to that is, no. You're an adult. You can be responsible for yourself. I have plenty on my plate that I'm taking care of, but I can't be responsible for both me and you. We can do this in a teamwork, but I'm not going to prop you up with all of your imperatives. Ultimately, your job is not to convince the covert narcissist that they are, in fact, covering up and they're in this chameleon kind of mode, because by definition, they're going to just stick with what they have portrayed, and so they're not going to admit it. It is your job, though, for you to decide, I see what their exploitive schemes are, and knowing the inappropriateness of it, my task in my life is to make sure I understand what the clean, healthy alternatives to all of that covert stuff is. And I'm going to live out in the open with a commitment to dignity, respect, and civility. I'm going to have a conscientiousness about myself. That's my best way of showing that covert narcissist that I'm on to them, and I am moving down a very different path. I'm not dancing their dance. Now, I hope this can give you some good awareness of what you might be up against. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. Watching the videos on a cumulative kind of basis can be most helpful, I'm hoping, in an educational kind of thing. If you have a need for therapy, many times when you're dealing with this, it's so helpful to have somebody that you can sit down with and say, hey, here's my situation, and they can kind of help you turn on some light bulbs with you. I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com, and there's a link below that will take you to their online therapy resource. It's so helpful to be able to have that person to talk to. So if you have the need, please go through the link that we have and get the help that you can use and you deserve. Also, I have my online classes, my courses, and they're very extensive. They're on the website. Each course has at least 25 videos, and each video has written documents and guided questions that will take you into a particular direction. We have my course, Ready, Set, Connect, which is about having healthy connection styles. This is me, about establishing your boundaries, free to be, finding yourself despite those controllers. We also have my webinars, which are 90-minute presentations, and they're also there on the website that approach things differently. And then we have many articles. We have access to our podcast, my books, plenty of resources. The covert narcissist is invested in their own deception. They deceive themselves first. They lie to themselves about who they are and how they're supposed to be, and then they want to pass that on to you. We can't do anything about what they're doing within themselves, but we can certainly do something about your response to it. And I'm hoping you can decide, I'm not going to enter into that chaos, and I'm not going to, push against you in such a way that I get inside that pig pen with you. I'm not doing that either. I'm committed to being a person of steadiness and insight. And then in the whole, I'm hoping it takes you down the path towards you being in a place of great internal peace.